Hello, my name's Grainger. I taught at Balby High School in Doncaster in about the mid-1960s. Basically, I was with the college rep for about 20 years, with Elmfield House Drama Group for maybe 5-6 years, and it was a learning curve all the time. Elmfield House had a wonderful drama teacher called Nora Evelyn Marshall, and she trained at Bradford Civic, and she taught us what she knew, so we developed the skills. I was trained in drama in the technical college, where we learned on the hoof, as it were, but we had an excellent drama teacher who had the clearest voice and a good sense of production. So without realizing that you were learning, you learned as you went. You would get, it was a male, dear boy, I think you ought to do so-and-so, or dear girl, I think if you came in from stage left, you'd do better. So this sort of practical tutoring was the best for me, the best way in the world to learn. I had learned in academia with being at the high school and doing that sort of thing, but drama was such a freedom and such a joy and such an easy thing to transmit, particularly to the child who was not academically sound. They would learn to express themselves, and that it doesn't always need words. It needs to be able to show. I've been with the college rep for many years, and a friend of mine, Dirk Woodburn, came one day and he said, "There's a teaching job going, would you like to come?" Because he was at Balby High School. And I said, yeah, if you like, you know. And so I was really tipped in at the deep end. So when I was invited to join the staff, they were very short on staff that could do drama. So I stepped in, thoroughly enjoyed the years I was with the school and at other schools in Doncaster. Fear. I had been warned by some of my teaching colleagues that the school was a difficult one, and in brackets, they bashed the teachers. So I'm 5'0", and I remember saying, they won't bash me, which they didn't. The very first class I took, I went into the West Hall and said, right everyone, I want you to sit cross-legged on the floor while I tell you what we're going to do. And one little star leaned up against the radiator. She says, well, I'm not going to do it. I said, well, I think you'll find you are going to do it. You're going to dance and you're going to do drama. I'm not. So I just went close and looked up at her and said, yes, you are. And she did, and she loved it. Years later, she came up and said, hey, miss, it was good, wasn't it, when we did dancing? Yes, it was good. It was great fun. Initially, I used to get groups of between 4 and 8 to each occupy a separate part of the West Wall, and then I would give them a theme to work to. And I used to say, now just tell me a story, but without words. I want you to tell me. And one particularly naughty group, with a very naughty girl leading it, gave the most amazing translation of a motorbike accident and someone being killed and the person grieving over the death. And I've never ever forgotten that, because it was wonderful. I loved them. They were monsters, but super lovely kids, quite often from difficult home backgrounds, which sloped the way they thought, and sometimes their reactions. But having said that, once they knew that you were on their side, and always at the beginning of every school year, I used to take the group and say, whatever is wrong, come to me, and if I can't fix it, I will find someone who can. So don't ever, ever think that you're on your own. You're not. You've got me. And I used to get the most odd things, very odd worries. I taught girls, and so I can only give it from a girl's angle, but I know that if things were worrying them, they used to say, don't look at me, miss, look away. So if it was something personal, I had to be just an ear listening. Most of the time, I was able to put them at ease, or help them, or advise them, or point them towards someone who could advise them. So, super. It didn't seem to be a drama thing for boys at all. I would think a lot of it is the male-female division that happened, certainly in those days. Boys regarded drama as sissy, so they didn't want to play. So they used to do more active things, got steam out of them. But girls, once you got their interest, it was wonderful because you could see the development, and quite often the girls who couldn't communicate verbally could communicate dramatically. You could say, tell me a story about so-and-so, or what happened to you when you first started at school? Oh, miss, it were awful. What was wrong with it? Well, they did this, they did that. And as soon as they verbalised, it became less important. I think it answered a need for that particular type of child and that particular social level, because particularly the social level, they're very defensive of the young people, and if you can see it for what it is, you can channel it so that it can be corrected, rebalanced, whatever. Secondary school children are, generally speaking, were far more brash and outspoken and underconfident. So if they could speak through drama rather than through the written word, they would achieve more, and they would tell the truth as they saw it. So often, a lot of these children were now labelled as underprivileged, but it was more that they hadn't been taught because their parents couldn't communicate well, so the children can't. But if you have a clever child, no matter what level it comes from, if you teach it how to tell you, then you've achieved both for yourself and the child. The child who is shy or undemonstrative or afraid to commit because of being laughed at, once they've overcome the hurdle, generally speaking, there's no stopping them. They go from strength to strength, and each little achievement gives them a little bit more and a lot more self-knowledge. When you needed drama for the young people to be able to express themselves, they couldn't always verbalise, and if they did, it was a mishmash. So if they were then given a framework to tell, then they could act it out better than the academic, because they had shortage of words, they had growth in action and communication. So I can remember having goose pimples for some of the things that they did. They were lovely. Get a group of 8 and say, your story this morning is so and so. And tap, 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 tap. And the voice, no, we can't do that. Well, what if we do this? Well, I know, let's do so and so. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. You could see the ideas growing and the development of the quite often very underconfident that came out as brash child. The one, I'm not going to do that, was a regular thing, or I can't do that, miss. I can't do that. Yes, you can. I will watch you. I will tell you. You start by so-and-so and then move on. Hey, oh, miss, I did it. So, yes, that, to me, is one of the most special achievements, is to fish out the skill, to get the little hook on and say, come on, I made. Yeah. Did billions of the young people. They bounced into school, they bounced along the corridors, they bounced from the playground. I remember once a wet break in the East Hall, I think it was, a young lad called Sean did a somersault off the stage, which was a high stage. My heart was in my mouth and down in my boots. And I said, Sean, when you mustn't do that. They were all right, miss. And he was very fit. So I said, well, if I say, look at the Olympics, gymnasts, they always have catchers. And there is a reason. It's because you can have a slip up or a misjudgment. And if the catchers are there, they've got you and you're not damaged. Oh, all right, miss. So Sean did after that say, somebody gonna catch me? And I think this is the main difference between the academic teaching and the secondary teaching is if you give the secondary child logic, reason, and a way to think it through, you get a massive reward. The academic child quite often just regards not defiance but taking issue as a form of showing how clever they are, and doesn't mean one's better than the other, it's just a different approach they have in life. The headmaster that had just left had been known by the familiar term of Daddy, and from what I gather, he was a quite gentle personality, and the school needed a strong leader. And when Ken Nadin came, he was a strong leader. He was a front row pop forward in rugby, so he was built like a tank, and he was quite implacable, and his voice was not one that could be easily ignored. So he went into the school and he, if I dare say it, he made the school a better school with his strengths. He initiated the end of year ball, which was something that they'd never heard of. So we had I think it was 654 or 543. It was the upper school that came to the ball, and both boys and girls were encouraged to dress in their best and behave beautifully, and they did, and they loved the pride of going to the ball. And we, certainly as teachers, enjoyed the difference that something like that made to them. He organised it, and the kids then had something really important to look forward to at the end of the school year, plus the fact they had a long time to plan what they were wearing, what they were doing, and how they were going to enjoy it. And they did. It became a real source of pride. I think Nadin was well before his time in that he gave children with not much aspiration something to look forward to and something to be proud of, which in secondary schools, in my experience, there wasn't very much of. It was a matter of getting them through the time they had to serve, rather than making it something that they could enjoy. So it was a big plus. My secondary kids, I can still look back with joy and think what wonderful things we did. We used to have a lunch hour dance session, and it was the kids' own kind of music, so they did well. And I remember, I think it was Denise Groom came, "Are you going to come and dance, miss?" I said, "No, I'm not. I'm watching you. That's what I'm here for." "Oh, that's cheating. You ought to dance." So I, being a dance teacher, I thought I'd better. So I stood up, and I just couldn't get the hang of what we're doing. And I said, "I cannot follow how you're following the music." "Oh no, miss, it's not to do with music. It's two winds with your right hand and one with your left." So there I've been thinking you followed music all the time. Yeah. Balby High School had been, in many respects, a bit of lost territory, and it regained and strengthened under new leadership. Same staff, but a different leader, and a strong, like I said, implacable personality. He could stand among the upper school and stand well tall of them. And if there was rowdyism, his voice would ring down the corridor, "Boys!" And the boys stood to attention and did as they were told. And the girls too were reminded they were not perfect. So yes, it was a nice, pleasant thing to be in at the beginning of and to be proud of. Well, in my case, my term of being teacher came to a close. I think it was just staff reduction. So I left happily and had a wonderful farewell session in the school. Yeah. I did for quite a while. I kept in touch with the maths teacher, the geography teacher, Pat Haig, Derek Holmes, who was, I think, cricket and games. But other than that, primarily because I was part-time, I did, I think, 2.5 days or 2 days a week. And then I was at other schools. I was at the Dagenham Grammar and Doncaster High School and Doncaster Grammar.
If you would like to know more about the Ossie Through the Ages project, then please email me at tonyarmstrong1959@outlook.com. Thank you.